calls to order the Monday, June 27th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. First item of business is item 1, approval of minutes from meeting held May 23rd, 2022. Are there any comments or discussion?
I make a motion we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Does everyone have their mics on?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
I do now.
Second item of business is item 2, old business. There is none. Moving on, item 3, new business. Item A, site plan and exception request to height requirement for 6024 Buena Vista, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Caleb George of Chris George Custom Homes property owner. Basil, will you please provide your staff report?
The applicant submitted application for a new house. When we did our calculation, the height is about 916 above the 30 feet. So we're recommending approval, but doing an elevation for the height. The applicant is here, so if you have any questions to him. But the watershed analysis is decreasing, and they are proposing to put a basin to direct the water flow.
Okay. Can you remind me, what's the requirement for we limit how far the door can be behind the garage? What's that distance?
8 foot.
Okay, and they're at 7 foot, I think, so they're okay. All right. Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, was the basin, was that as a requirement from staff, or?
No, that's the recommendation that came with the watershed analysis.
Okay, I got you.
So even though the flow is decreasing, but they are putting the basin to reroute the water flow.
And then on the height, I think I saw in the recommendation that you would survey the foundation when it's finished and the height when
Or
it's
do
finished?
an elevation, but the applicant is here, and
Well, I'm just curious what happens if somehow when it's done, it's 6 inches above the height limitation instead of 916. So I guess once it's built, there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
We have made someone take it off.
Okay.
It was not a roof, but it was a projection into the side, and they had to come out and take it off. And I will say, wasn't the most pleasant situation for the builder, but they removed it.
Basil, circling back on my question about the distance of the door to the front of the garage, it does look like actually from the plot plan that it's 9 feet. Maybe I'm misreading that.
And do we not
No,
get
wait,
floor
I think I'm
plans anymore?
misreading
I mean,
that.
because it's hard to know on something like this question. I had that same question, but
I don't put the floor plans in the online packet. The applicant actually did not include floor plans on this. For the planning criteria, it's actually not required. Most of them do include them.
Yeah, I mean, we can ask about it, because now that it says, I'm reading it, maybe I'm misreading it, but to Ron's point, it's a little confusing. Are there any other questions for Basil? Okay, would the applicant like to come forward, state your name and address for the record, please?
Caleb George, 6830 Beverly, Overland Park, Kansas.
Is the dimension I was talking about, maybe I misread it, is it 4 feet? Is that the
Four
distance
foot,
from?
and then that 3.67, I believe. So
Okay.
it would be within the 8 foot.
So it's 7, 8, so you're
Yeah.
4 inches shy.
Yeah, it should be 7'8".
Okay,
well, now the code. It's 7 or 8 feet from the front door. I mean, he's kind of just stepped the front door out 2 feet to kind of get around that requirement, in my opinion.
It's from That is correct. The 8 foot is measured from the threshold of the front door.
And that room it's a foyer. It's not, it's a foyer, and then there's a flex room that's stepped back the 2 feet.
I mean, so it serves some purpose other than just getting you with under the 8
Correct. I mean, to your point, if it was one wall and we just had a jog in it, there's an interior wall coming off of that 2 foot projection for the front door.
Because we're just trying to keep the houses from looking like they're a garage with a house attached in the
Absolutely.
back.
Any other questions for the applicant?
And if I may, to Boswell's point on the height, our full intention is to actually drop the foundation an extra inch so we don't have any issue on the height. So we're not. I don't want to get bogged down in asking for an exception or anything on that. If we can get approval for under 30 feet, or I had my calculations at 29 foot, 11 inches and 9/16. So something just wasn't jiving with our architect's math. One side was off from the other, so he erred on the side of it too high, which is perfectly fine. But I didn't return his call. I just forgot about it. So that's not something, I don't want to get bogged down in a height issue because we're fully intending on meeting that criteria.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion?
Well, it looks to me like it meets the requirements for the building code. I don't have any issues.
I would say I don't have any issues either.
Anyone want to make a motion if there's no other discussion?
Make a motion to approve the new home at 6024 Buena Vista Street.
And we probably need to state whether we're adding the exception or whether they're going to limit it to 30 feet.
And including that they limit it to the 30 feet height requirement.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to have to abstain due to my tardiness.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right, moving on. Next item of business is item B, site plan and exception request to green space requirements at 3904 Shawnee Mission Parkway, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Tim Hakes, property owner. Do you please read your staff report?
Okay, the applicant was requesting an exception to the green space requirement. It's an existing property. He's already exceeding the green space requirement, and he's trying to add a driveway addition. The watershed analysis is, again, it's showing it's an increase, but no, the rate of discharge is equal to the existing. As far as the staff recommendation, does not support the green space exception, but if planning commission approved the site plan, staff recommends the basic 3 sets, building permit, and application is voided after 1 year. Open to questions.
Kim mentioned something about a garage.
Yes, during conversation with the applicant, he was seeking to add a garage, and we told him, we advised him he needed to go to BZA for that to get approval, because if he adds a garage, then it's going to be encroaching into the setback. So he opted just to submit a planning commission application.
Yeah, I just sent out, I would have sent out 48 sort
Sorry, if you could go up and state your name and address if you're going to.
Well, does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, sorry.
Basil,
I'll do whatever.
it'll be your turn.
Yeah, I guess I would want a little clarification from staff. So you say that you don't support the exception?
Since we don't have the authority to grant exception, I mean, they already exceeded
Right,
the-
that's my question was, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not that you don't support it, you're just not comfortable
We're
making that
not- yeah.
decision? Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, if you'd like to come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Tim Hakes, 3904 Shawnee Mission Parkway. I think the deal is like this, if you guys know where the property is, it's a 57,000 square foot lot in Fairway, okay, which is uncommon. I mean, Basil told me it might be the top 2 or 3 largest lot in Fairway. What happened was, sometime around 2015, they made it so that anything over 30,000 square feet, you have to have all permeable. Well, if you were to walk up into my lot, it's a lot of grass. You can come over and mow it sometime. It's a big yard, okay? There's no issues with drainage. There's no issue with even low spots or anything of that nature. And where that driveway is going is on the northeast corner. There's not a single neighbor that can see it. You can't see it. It's 145 yards from Shawnee Mission Parkway, and it's elevated above the parkway, so you can't even see it from anywhere. You'd have to actually drive into the property all the way to the back before you'd even know that it was there. So it's, I did all the studies. I'm adding, and I don't know the lingo, it's a basin maybe, or on the watershed analysis, I'm adding, a thing to catch the water from a different part of the property to offset it. But the way that it's graded, it's not even going to make it, it won't even make it probably 20 yards down the driveway anyway. It's probably overkill, but just for the purpose of not adding any more to the watershed, we're doing that. So, but again, I would just say that, what we're doing, it's a 57,000 square foot lot. It's 65% permeable. I'm adding 1,100 square feet of non-permeable. So that's, the math is not to my favor because of the zoning change. When the house was built in the 80s, they put the house on the back side of the property, and the driveway is really long to get up to it. Well, I can't take the driveway out. A lot of times, if you look at some of the other homes, they might have built the house on more towards the street, where we don't need a big long driveway to get to it. When the rules changed, I just kind of got stuck in the middle, would be how I describe it. So that's my 2 cents.
Well,
So.
what's the purpose of this expansion? It almost looks like a court or something like that. It's...
No, I've got 4 kids, and 2 of them are driving, and 2 more are going to be driving pretty soon. I'm going to look like a used car lot if I don't put something in there. And then I'm also doing a kitchen renovation, and so part of it is just to have more room to park, and then part of it is to put a little small walkway from that parking area back to the back of the house on the kitchen. But there's no sport court, or it's just a concrete driveway with a stone retaining wall. There's no basketball court or anything like that.
What are the crisscross lines in there? Is that just a pattern in the concrete, or is there going to be an arbor above this? Or
No. Crisscross lines might just be the way the architect drew it up, probably. Let's see.
And the other thing, throws me is, you just say it's just a walk around the side, but it's 10 feet wide. What kind of crowds are you
You
expecting?
get a mower back there? A lawnmower?
You need a 10-foot drive to get a lawnmower through?
That'd be nice. Come around the other side, it's hard to do. I don't know what drawing you're looking at, but
I've got
The
one
first
on the
drawing,
screen.
maybe
Oh.
the first drawing of the packet, Kim, is a little bit,
A2.2.
clear.
Next, keep going down, I think. Or maybe
oh, it's the first, well, it's my
First drawing, sorry.
first,
Yeah.
Oh, I think
Go down more. There. Down more.
Okay.
No,
Oh.
the other way.
He meant up
Okay,
more.
Well, whichever way.
I think they're just doing that for measurement or something. I don't really know. It's the architect put that on there. Maybe you'll have a pattern in the concrete or something. I'm not sure, actually.
It just looks to me like it's kind of excessive to have a little bit of more parking for some kids' cars. I understand that issue, but it looks like, from looking at your driveway, down farther, it looks like it's widened out to provide parking. I mean, there's several odd
Yeah,
bumps.
you get a couple people over there and you can't get by. You park 1 or 2 cars in that cutout, in that bump out, and you can't get by. It's a traffic jam. It's a pain in the butt. I mean, I've lived there since 2004. So, I mean, if you park 2 cars in that part, I don't know. It's like, say you pull through the wall, through the gate, and then the driveway bumps out a little bit
Right.
to the east. You park 2 or 3 cars right there, and then that's it. You can't get in and out of the driveway. So, that's why I want to park them at the top of the hill.
Because I don't know, when I first saw it, it just kind of struck me as it looks like it's going to be some kind of a game court or something, basketball goal, and
No, I've never,
and
Not
then
even-
that gets into a whole bunch.
what's that?
When that happens, then you get into a bunch of different rules of
Oh, no, I don't.
separating it from the neighbors and
I
all that kind
can't-
of stuff.
No, there's no, I mean, it's just concrete, it's a concrete pad, there's not any kind of a sport court or anything of that nature. I mean, like I said, there's not a single person that could even see it. It's not visible to any neighbor or from Shawnee Mission Parkway or anything. You wouldn't even know it's there. You have to drive all the way up to the top of the property to see it.
You can hardly see the house
I know, yeah.
unless you stop.
Yeah, you have to look real fast.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, you can hardly. But you're right. But if you're familiar with it, because the house is elevated, right? So it's going to be on that very top part of that elevation, so you can't even see the wall right
It
now.
looks like a gorgeous house up there. I keep thinking, boy, I wish I could walk up in that yard.
Come on in.
Check your grass.
Check out all the permeable space.
I'll stay down in the permeable area.
No,
I've
that's
gotten in trouble
just-
for that. I'm not coming in the yard.
No, I don't. Come on in. Everybody else does.
So for clarification purposes, this concrete walkway you're adding will butt up basically next to the shed shown on the drawing?
Well, the shed's coming out.
The shed's coming out, okay.
Yeah, the shed will be gone. I'm gonna.
And then going back down to the drawing you just showed, Kim. So there is already a bump out of concrete shown, the left bump out, which is where this concrete driveway is going. Is that
Well,
true? Like this, yeah.
Yeah, so that's existing, so we're, it already does bump out a little bit there, and there's some stone steps right there. So I'm gonna take that stone wall out, and the stone wall actually just be moved back. So part of the existing spot will be part of the old spot, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but, so in other words, not the whole thing is new, there's already some concrete in that area. I think it's like 200 square feet.
And so then based on what you provided, it's 2% increase? Is that
2%.
correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other questions for the applicant?
And Chair, if you see the watershed analysis, Exhibit B, there is a proposed patio and wall expansion. That was deleted. The applicant had an active permit for a kitchen remodel, so they kept it at the existing concrete or permeable. So they did not add that portion, but that watershed analysis shows it.
Okay.
But that was deleted with the application for the.
Oh, so that addition, that's already been approved
Yeah,
over a paved
yeah.
area already?
So that's already been
Yeah, I wondered
approved,
why we
but
never
they
saw that.
we made them remove that concrete area, the addition of the concrete.
So the increase from 34.2 to 36.1, it's not actually going to 36.1 then?
No, it is, but just if you had any question regarding the watershed analysis, it shows that there was another addition proposed. That proposed is no longer, we did not allow that addition.
Okay.
What I've done is I've delayed the start of the kitchen in hopes to get this approved, because when they're in there pouring all that other concrete, they can do it all at the same time rather than have crews come back and forth. So that's I've been on hold for about 60 days waiting for this.
So this still will, it's proposed, but it still will happen? Is that what I'm hearing? Or it won't
No,
happen?
that addition is not happening, but he's still remodeling the kitchen on an existing patio area.
Okay.
So it won't add anything more than what we've talked about, I guess is probably the easiest way to say it.
Yep,
But it is a
I get-
kitchen addition. It's just over already paved area.
already paved
Okay.
area.
But the proposed addition, is that paved? Because if it's not, that would change the watershed
The
analysis
the
slightly.
walkway
It would
and
improve
the
it.
driveway extension,
That's all
that's
we're
the
talking about.
addition.
Understood, but the proposed addition shown on the watershed analysis, is that pervious area that
It's
is
not
being
adding
treated as
anything.
impervious in the
It's
water?
not adding anything to the so it's already.
I mean, it's
going
gonna
over the park.
reduce it.
That's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
right? It's gonna reduce it, and,
It's already covered.
oh, it's covered?
It's already
Yeah, it's
impermeable.
already impermeable. It's not going over.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
with
I-
current
It really
state.
was not a,
Okay.
shouldn't have really been brought up.
Go back to the current plan for a minute, Kim.
You mean existing?
Yeah, that little pullout that's up there, where you're proposing to make this larger expansion, is that not adequate for parking a couple of cars?
No, the cars stick out, and when you back out of the garage, you back into the car. You can park
10 feet.
one car there, maybe, and the car sticks out about 3 or 4 feet. And so you can't swing into the garage, because the garage doors, when you come in, the garage doors are to the right, so you have to back out. And you can only put one car there, it'd have to be a small car.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I would say, as a person who also has a challenging lot, my lot's much smaller than this, but even with my driveway, I think it's 10 foot wide, and people always think that they can get a car past it, and they can't, and then they drive on the grass, and it's very irritating. So I understand the need or want to have cars kind of out of the way so that you can have people over and you don't have to have your family park somewhere else so that they can back in and out. On Mission Road, we actually make people park up the street and then walk to our house, and it's a challenge. So I could empathize with the want to add this parking area.
Yeah, I'd say the side entry garage eats up a lot of pavement that way too. It's kind of unfortunate, you know, in terms of, it's nice to get the garage off the front facade, but at the same time it eats up a lot of pervious area.
Yeah.
I don't really have any issues with it. I mean, it seems like it's gonna be hidden in a back corner mostly, so, I mean,
Yeah, if
It's
you look
already-
at the plot plan, it's like almost 20 feet above Shawnee Mission Parkway, I think. You won't even be able to see it.
Oh, yeah, elevation wise?
Right. Is that right? 20 feet?
How far away is it from the other houses that are on the other street back there? I mean,
Well, there's the condos next door, and those are probably.
Oh, I'm sorry, will you come up to the, yeah.
Keep forgetting it.
yeah, the
Did you ask
condo,
from the neighbors?
from the neighbors to the north. Yeah, the condos.
Oh,
In the west.
Talis's house is 100 yards away, maybe 80 yards. I'm 145 yards from Shawnee Mission Parkway, and Talis is the guy that's to the north of me. His house is way back up, almost to the street, and all he has is like a what does he call it, an art studio or something that's back in there. So I can barely see his house from there. Matter of fact, I can't see his house unless I walk through the fence and look around that other building that's there. So it's quite a ways. I'd have to measure the distance from my back property line to the street, minus 60 feet or something. So it's a ways away. And then the other guy that's catty corner, he's a long way away too. I mean, nobody can see it. You can't see it from any of the neighbors.
Kim's going to do one of her tricks and pull up the whole
That'll be
neighborhood.
helpful to see.
Check and see if I'll be able to see it from my house.
I don't know where you live.
I live in Norwood.
Oh, you live next to me?
No, I'm way
Norwood. Okay, now you're over here.
down just south of the shopping center.
You could do Google Maps.
Just do it, yeah.
Yeah.
It is far away, and there is quite a bit of mature tree around the area, but
I mean,
Yeah, I
also,
don't-
there is concrete part of that already, so it's not like we're parking cars in an area that haven't been placed. They're just,
Oh, yeah, I
little bit
can
further.
see the need for it, and I agree and think it's great. I mean, his kids couldn't park on the street and walk up like they do on our street, but it seems like a lot of space, a lot of concrete to park 3 cars back there, and then a 10-foot walk. But nobody's going to be able to see it, so it's just the drainage.
You can just type in the address and it'll take you to it.
Yeah, that's it. So now I want to do that.
Close that and then go down to layers on the bottom and go to, yeah, there you go.
It's hard, sometimes the trees are,
So that's the house.
it's
So,
covered in trees.
Going north.
yeah,
It's
there
right-
you go.
Yeah. So, if I can walk back up there again, that structure is just the north of it's not a house. It's his art studio.
Yeah,
So you have to go further north. There's his house.
yeah.
So I don't know the distance, but it's a ways. I can get my rangefinder and figure it out. That's how I
Oh, I
figured out
did.
how far it was to Shrine Mission Park.
Yeah,
I
Basil,
talked to Talis about it. He's
Any other comments?
I just have a question on Exhibit C. This is the infiltration filter.
The watershed?
Yeah, watershed analysis. Infiltration, are you going to make that a part of your project to
Yeah.
reduce, okay?
For sure, yeah. I'll do it simultaneously, more than likely, because we'll have all the equipment there to dig the hole. So I'll probably do it within a day or two. I'm not sure which one I'll do first, but it'll be done
Okay.
within a week of
Okay.
whichever one we do first.
Thanks.
can I make a motion?
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion that on the house at 3904 Shawnee Mission Parkway. We approve the plans as submitted, and with the exception to the green space differentiation, or how, I don't know what you call it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next item of business is item 4, additional business. Item A, discussion for possible amendments and new language to chapter 15.
So, Chair, at the last meeting, you wanted me to pull the list from the joint work session that was back in October of 2019. I didn't realize it was that far back, but, you know, we had COVID happen, so we, at any rate, just a little bit of an update. At that meeting, we discussed definition of character and style. That's been updated in the ordinance number. We discussed what things go to PC versus what does not. That was also part of 1750. We did make some modifications.
Well, just to clarify, though, those say those were adopted on May 2019. Is that correct? Because both of those would have happened before the October meeting.
2020.
Okay, I
2020.
just want to confirm.
Yeah, yeah. I had 2019 in my head, you're right, because we met in October. I think we also, this was just more of a staff requirement, but we had architects or engineers stamping off on plans because the code says either an architect or engineer can stamp off. Through the discussion with engineers, they weren't really checking the Fairway codes. We now have a statement that they are complying with all the sections of 15296 and 7, the Fairway Code. We, at a couple meetings ago, discussed, or maybe the last meeting, that we need to change the graphic in the code to match what is being approved out in the field on the driveways. And that was in, I believe, section 15438 under the graphics, where it's just like a sharp it comes down and then it cuts off. Well, no one drives like that, so, on the driveway. So we're gonna give them a 10-foot, graduation down to where they have to be at the, right-of-way entry. So that's what else. One of the things we discussed, trees and landscaping. There is a requirement in the 15297, I believe, on this. Is it the landscaping plantings around the foundation, 50%. There's also some requirements that we threw in on trees. The question is, once we sign off and it's approved, we're not going back to enforce it. So should this really be something that's in the code, like landscape plantings around a foundation?
Has that come up? Because I do remember when we passed that originally and we kind of said, oh, well, we're not really too worried about maintaining it. But has it been an issue?
Has it been an issue? We've had some people initially drop off plants that don't have it, and we say, you gotta add it, and they're like, oh, okay.
But I mean, have we had people complain that someone just let their plantings die and now they can see their foundation? Or
It's overgrown.
Yeah, we have people
Right,
complaining
exactly.
that you haven't trimmed your shrubs, so, you know.
You can bet there's complaining about it.
I mean, I just wondered if it would fix, if it was worth your time to worry about that.
Yeah, you know, that's up to the planning. Just know that it's a code requirement that once we sign off, final approval, we're not going back out. So.
Oh, it's a nudge. I mean, it kind of, yeah, you got to meet this requirement, but
So, and then the passive energy, I think we have taken some steps to get that going with the solar systems, which are now going before the PC for review. In fact, you just had a commercial one, but that would have had to go no matter what. Generators, the placement, we did make some language changes to that. Now, Basel has suggested, especially on these larger homes, that we increase the pad dimensions. Currently, it's listed at 4 foot by 4 foot, and he said, really, some of these generators, that's the generator size. So perhaps.
Right now, it's 12 feet with the maximum dimension is 48. But I'm seeing some submittals is coming, well, the generator is like 50 inches. So now, the pad, I mean, since we have the pad at that smaller size, it's becoming more of an issue.
do we say the pad can only be 4 foot?
48 inch, the maximum, the biggest dimension, and it's 12 feet, 12 square feet, the size of the pad.
Like 4 by 3.
Generators
4 by
are
3.
bigger than that.
So we're limiting how big the pad can be when the generator is bigger than that
That's
footprint.
Do they need that? Is that a normal size generator, or is that someone buying an overly large generator?
The normal size, I think the dimension is 52 inches that I've seen the majority, but then if you get a bigger one, they're a good example, the house you guys dealt with, the Garza house. Well, they had a massive generator installed. Well, they needed like almost 60 square feet.
It's a big generator.
Big house. So that's something.
But the standard that I'm seeing is at least 52 inch, and
Is that squared?
Were we trying to minimize the size of the pad, or could we just say pad will be sized per the equipment as recommended by the manufacturer? I mean,
that would be.
I think we were trying to.
I thought we were trying to limit the pad size so it doesn't become like a generator and something
Yes.
else and
a
something else.
basketball court.
Yeah, right. So maybe it could be like no more than 6 inches on each side of the generator or something.
I mean, I guess the question is, do we want to limit what people are doing? If you've got a 8,000 square foot house, do you really need a whole house generator, you know, for the few days that we have the power outage, or should you be running it just the essentials? I guess that would be the question on that.
We're seeing the battery ones now coming. If you do solar, they're opting for the battery backup, so they don't need generator. They'll have enough.
Batteries only last for a day or two, though.
That's right.
And we've had our
Yeah,
power
but
go
you
out
still get the sun
for weeks before, so with a pregnant wife.
That doesn't go well.
That doesn't go well, no.
So,
Yeah, there is price to it. I've seen a couple of applications where solar panels and they're putting the battery too, so they'll have power if they lose power.
so that's something we should probably consider. Fence and building materials, we did update the ordinance that allowed legal non-conforming fences on corner lots to be rebuilt in the same location, because that was the intention. Some time ago, we did have considerable discussion on, you know, corner lots, so I don't know that we need to revisit it. But Basel also wanted to know if we should consider if the building materials are too restrictive. And I'll let him, some of the stuff he talked about, like I think you were talking about the rubber roofing material.
That's right, that's for roofing, not fencing, so.
No, that was a combination of that joint work
So
session.
we do have like, those rubber material for roofs that are approved, but it's not in our ordinance.
The roofing materials specifically laid out, so for example, we call out a composition roof, but you've seen those, they're made out of a rubber material. They look like shingles, shake shingles and different things. So
Well, they make metal ones now too.
we do allow the, I believe the code on the roofing,
Yeah, we
stone-coated metal is allowed.
It's added, okay.
But not for the whole roof? Because I know we allow like standing seam as an accent.
that's right.
Standing seam, but there's a stone-coated that actually makes it look like a comp shingle, that it's metal, but it's coated with the stone material. So really, from looks-wise, it looks the same as a comp shingle. I've seen them also, they do it with the sort of Spanish tile. I've seen that before. Do you have the roofing materials there?
So the roofing, we have composite shingles, wood shake, clay or concrete tile, natural slate, glass acceptable for greenhouse, and rolled composition as an approved material.
So we don't have the rubber, we don't have the stone coated, you know. There are some other options that are actually, I think, fairly common.
And the ones that are prohibited is corrugated metal roof.
So think about that. I know this was brought up from one of our prior commissioners. I think it's still somewhat of a concern. The water retention basins is the maintaining of them once they fill up after so many years. And then they're not doing what they're supposed to when we've allowed them to use it in order to, so there is the property maintenance code, which the city adopts by reference, and that would apply to anything, you know, gutters, maintaining gutters. If you have gutters, you have to maintain them in working order, you know, the drainage away from the house. I mean, peeling paint, there is that whole property maintenance code, and I would think it might be sufficient to regulate the maintenance, but Basel, I don't know that you've had a chance to look at that. If there's something specific to retention basins.
Yeah, to me, with the retention basins, I mean, yeah, you do really need to maintain them. Like the bigger ones, you have to maintain them after a few years. Well, for a single-family house, you're putting really a small, I mean, I think that one needs frequent maintenance to function.
We adopt the property maintenance code by reference, as I stated. We can make amendments to it, so there could be something that we amend, but I'm not familiar with what it is. Maybe some of you have experience in that, what they would be supplying us to say it's still functioning.
Is that your expertise, Jeremy? You're environmental, are you?
No, transportation.
Yeah, I don't know how you would inspect one of those. I mean, depending on the grading.
Well,
and the
right
gas.
now, I mean, really, we're not even inspecting. We're just looking at the inlets and the overflow. And we verify. If it's underground one, yeah, we'll look at the base of it. They do gravel and the felt material. But above ground, I mean, they're using two types of gravel, and and then we're getting calls whenever it rains. I'm getting water from the neighbor. It's a brand new house.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, on a brand new house, if they haven't sodded and it rains a few times, that thing's going to be silted in probably before they can get the grass down. But
Yeah, but what's happening, everybody's directing all the gutters and downspouts to the basin, basically. Whatever debris you're getting from the gutters is going to the basin and settling after a couple of years.
We recently did this in Mission Hills, where we required a certification within 1 year of installation from the engineer that it's working the way that it's supposed to, and every 2 years thereafter. And that certification shall include, and we identified what information it was going to be that needed to be in that certification. So it's just a way to monitor that they are working the way they're intended.
Do you know what level of effort that is? Like, an engineer comes out and looks at it, and that's a couple $100, or do you know?
I don't know, and I haven't, this has been in place for about a year, or 2 years, so I can see if they've had any experience with that, but I haven't heard of any complaints, so.
That one makes, I think, from staff's perspective, I don't know.
yeah, I think the owner
I
should be
have
back on
some
the owner.
hesitation with it because, you know, requiring an engineer to come out every couple years. If you buy a home, I'm pretty sure the current homeowner is not going to say, oh yeah, you've got to have an engineer come out on this retention basin. That's why I tend to lean more towards the property maintenance code. It fails, you got to fix it, just like anything else on your house. Your roof is falling or your shingles are falling off, you got to fix it, you know.
Well, those things are easy to identify, though. I mean, you can see when a gutter's falling down or the house is chipping, but to determine if that retention basin, I mean, I don't even know how an engineer would go out and look at it and determine
Well,
it.
yeah.
If it's
I mean, but if
dry,
there's a lot of ponding,
If what?
there's a lot of ponding on it, right? When that-
Ponding, yeah.
if there's a big rain and nothing's
I mean,
going
if
anywhere.
it's an open basin, I mean, you just measure what it was. I mean, if it was 2 feet deep, you measure that.
Oh, I thought most of them
And
were full of
whatever-
rock, where like
That's right, but I mean, I don't know, I mean, you have the below ground, I mean, there's an opening, you can open it and see what's the depth between what it was designed and all the silt material that's settled in there.
I mean, the other thing is if the neighbors are complaining about the issue, then they have to get an engineer and
Yeah.
inspect it and show that it's okay.
And that would fall under your property maintenance code, I believe. One of the items brought up back in 2019 is our building footprint requirement for new construction too high? Currently, if you're doing a single-story house, it's required to be 1,800 square feet, not counting the garage. I don't know where they came up with that, but is is there any reason why someone shouldn't be able to build smaller? So those were just, like I said, something discussed. The shed one probably is one that comes up more often. 120 square foot shed, anything over, and now it's got to match the house materials, which includes window and door openings, you know, architectural relief, all those other requirements. The green space requirements, I think.
On the shed, we're getting those applications. If it's more than 120, we're telling them, well, you have to meet, then they'll reduce the size to below 120. So they don't have to put windows and doors on all sides.
And so maybe that's what we want. We don't want big, you know, accessory structures.
So like a standard off-the-shelf shed, those are usually around what, like 10 by 10?
Yeah, 8 by 10, 10 by 10,
Okay.
10 by 12.
Because some of those you can't change that, so you don't
No.
want to put it too stringent because then people would have to manipulate something they buy off the shelf, and that's tough.
So, for example, the 10 by 14, once you get up to that, that's usually how it increases. You've got your 10 by 12, you know, and then if you go up to like 10 by 14, now you're 20 square feet over. You can either go to planning for an exception, or you got to match.
So I don't know if you remember, but my neighbor at one point got in trouble because their shed's roof didn't.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know, is their shed bigger than 10 by 12?
It
looks pretty
Yes,
small.
I believe it was.
Okay, so it was.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
yeah.
why.
And so they needed to, yeah.
That's still an off-the-shelf type shed, though.
Yes. Yeah, your 10 by 14s are off the shelf. I don't know how big off the shelf.
The other question with shed is, we have the height regulation, but then the ground is not even. So it meets on one side, it doesn't meet on the other side because they raise it to level it. We don't have anything in the code to enforce. I mean, do I measure from the worst case scenario or the other? I mean, if there's a foot differential, well, that'll make it that they need to move it about a foot. So there is nothing right now where I can follow. I mean, it's just 8 foot height, 4 foot away from the property line. Anything beyond that, for every foot, you have to move the shed a foot away. But what I'm seeing is scenarios, it's never even the ground. So they raise the shed on one side to make it level, while on this side, it's meeting the height. On the other side, it's not. So it's that shady area that maybe we need to put something.
Somebody move.
Time to go home.
Well, would it,
Can you hit that switch over there,
would
Shay?
it be, you'd have to meet it on the restrictive side where you're 4 foot from the property
Thank you.
line?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's getting, I guess if you had a steep slope, then it could get.
And
to be-
plus, I mean, you're getting the sheds with the, not just like flat sloping, so now we're getting the argument, well, 8 foot at the edge of the shed, but
Yeah.
10 feet. And, I mean, I don't know if we need to start really putting all these minor details in, or,
It's only a problem when somebody pushes the limit.
well,
That's-
and everybody is.
Yeah, and I think with all of these, we can talk about it in a second, but I think it's really just whatever your pain points are, we should take on first, so.
Yeah. Green space, you know, any exception is still going through PC, and so if you guys are happy with that, I think we've had plenty of opportunities to look at that. One thing is we have this twofold, speaking of green space, sort of definition. You have permeable and uncovered, and then capable of supporting vegetation. That's the second. So it's sort of a dual when they ask. We'll have people come in and they'll say, well, a swimming pool holds water. Yeah, but you can't grow anything on it. Or, you know, the pavers, they'll lay out pavers. Well, it's permeable, you know, it goes in. Yeah, but, only weeds grow through the cracks, you're not growing vegetation, so, probably another one that comes up a lot is when they do a deck, and they say, well, below, there's nothing on it, there's no hardscape. Well, a deck counts against you. Yes, rain can go through the space between the boards, but I've yet to see one grow any real vegetation under a deck. So, but if you're good with it, that's fine. Unless you would want to consider things like, especially as people continue to push the max on hardscape, permeable concrete. What about gravel? Gravel counts against you. Yes, it's permeable, but you're not growing stuff on it.
Do we define that permeable has to be a place where you grow stuff on it?
It says capable of supporting vegetation in the definition. So, yeah. So that's that little hiccup when people say, well, it's gravel. And I'll be like, they'll want to do a gravel sitting area. And it's like, but it doesn't support vegetation, so you can't do it. So, and I don't think anyone has to tell me tonight, but I would, if there's anything you see that you think we need to take on right away, I think the curb cut one we need to get updated right away. And if there's anything else or if you think it's working fine.
Yeah, I feel like in the last year we probably had less applications. I don't know if that's true. The last couple of months have been a lot lower. So I think it's been going well.
Okay.
I don't know what others think, but.
I just didn't know if there's anything else that you wanted us to start researching or tackling on this.
I would say if there's areas where you need more help or backup so you can make decisions, we'd support that.
What's the fence one? Because we're going to BZA.
Oh, okay. So I will let you know on the fences on corner lots. Planning wanted to pretty well stick with, only allowing the non-conforming to be replaced in their location. But on the corner lots, they wanted to pretty well stick with 18-foot back, okay? I think that's what it says on a street side corner lot. Okay. It says shall not. Can you... let me pull up this language real quick, sorry. At any rate, because the code states, I think the intent was planning wanted to look at these applications on corner lots, but because the code states shall not, they're having to go to BZA. So they're going to BZA, and I'm not sure that's what you guys wanted. I think you wanted to see them. So we've got one that's going next month. It is 12 feet.
Basically, you can put a house closer to the street side than a fence.
That is true.
Yeah, and there's a lot of history on that. I think at one point we were trying to set, even on non-corner, well, it's usually a corner lot, but lots that like front Shawnee Mission Parkway, Mission Road, we didn't want people to build their fences right up against the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. But then we had that situation where someone's fence got damaged and they wanted to replace it in the location. And that's why we got that email recently where they said, thank you for letting us put it there because a car ran into it and it protected us. So there's two thoughts. I mean, if someone was walking down the street when that car ran into that fence, they wouldn't have had anywhere to go. But then also that fence protected that homeowner. So there's some pros and cons.
Fences, here we go. All right. So in this one here, the one that's coming is, it's stating, will not be any closer than 12 foot to any street side property line. So the property line is 10 to 12 foot back because that's where that's right away. So you're saying the right-of-way's 10 to 12 foot, and now you gotta beat another 12 foot back. So on the street side of a corner lot, they're potentially 22 feet away from the curb.
But doesn't that vary on the lot? Like, I thought Shawnee Mission Parkway, the lines are actually in the street.
Shawnee Mission Parkway, the highway, yes, you're correct. There is no right-of-way along it. But this one will be going to BZA is 61 48 Fontana. So, and it can also cannot project in front of the adjacent home. So the adjacent home on this corner lot faces the other way. So the way theirs is set up, it really severs the backyard in half. If you want, I'll be glad to pull it up. But because it says shall not, that means PC does not get to review. Anna, how would that language be corrected so that planning?
I was going to suggest maybe instead of the street side property line, we use back of curb. That way you're ensuring that you've got, the space, so no matter where the property line is, and since it varies, at least it's, 12 feet from the back of the curb.
I feel like we debated that. Does anyone else remember?
Oh yeah, we did.
Whether
was
we should make it back of the curb, and I feel like we didn't want to for some reason.
But note that for a corner lot like this, or any corner lot, if it's 12 foot from the property line and you've got a 60-foot wide lot, that means your house can be closer than the fence.
I mean, I agree. I think we intended for it to come to Planning Commission, and then we could make some educated decisions and not force them to have to send out notices to everybody and then go before zoning. So I agree with you with that.
That's what I thought, that your intent was for it to be coming to you. So
we can always make the language more flexible, and unless add some unless clause. Planning Commission grants an exception.
And I think I thought we were, when we in 15298 I know in 15297 we've got exception language, but if there's a way we can tweak this language so that it's not a hard set BZA. Mm-hmm. So I think I'd like to try to bring the driveway and this to you guys next month. I would notice it for a public hearing.
Anything else that you guys think we need to be looking at?
What about the height requirements for not necessarily just the shed, but how we measure or where we're measuring from as far as setting our basis for height requirements?
Like the application we had today? Or
yeah, that one too.
Yeah, so our language states it is measured, it's 30-foot height, measured at the existing grade at the front, where the front door threshold's located. So that's a little hard sometimes to actually get that point, I guess, for the surveyors, but it really throws everybody. So Boz was suggesting.
I think even the application you guys looked at today, the existing house is about 5 or 6 feet or 10 feet in front. They pushed it back. The elevation is about a foot difference. So then now it's either you get penalized or you get some points if you move your house to where the existing front entry of the existing house.
I know they're also, to get the window in the basement, they're bringing your foundations out more. So perhaps it's better to, instead of saying measured at the grade at the front door threshold, maybe it's measured from the existing foundation, and then you can go 30 foot. So then if they bring their foundation wall out 2 foot higher, okay, now you've got to drop down to 28 feet to equal the 30. I don't know if you guys I can pull this, is that under definitions we define that, or in the height, or is that in the,
That's,
what section is that?
Maybe this is a non-issue or I'm not understanding, but what happens if there isn't an existing foundation?
we don't have.
I don't think it'd be possible, but I
I think
don't.
we pretty well, right, and that would be the same, it'd be 30 foot from the grade, the elevation grade, if there was no house.
Okay.
It'd just be 30 foot from the grade.
So-
When you say foundation, you mean top of like pad? Or,
Top of the existing foundation wall,
So before they demo the house, they have to shoot that point.
which
Yes.
they are doing right
Okay.
now. So,
Gotcha.
like, if you look at the application we had today, they're identifying the top of foundation, existing foundation,
Okay.
and then the grade elevation in front of the front door.
So here's our definition. 30 foot above the lesser, finished grade of previous structure measured at the previous threshold, or current finished grade measured at the current threshold, whichever's less. So if we say top of foundation wall, is that what you're saying, Boz?
I would think so, because again, it will be easier, because I think other municipalities, Overland Park, they do ask for a top of foundation elevation. Like when they pour the new foundation, they're measuring to that point.
And we have restrictions on how tall that top of foundation can be over grade, over finished grade. So you don't have like some large extension of foundation that they can then take.
Well, the way I see it right now, people are, and especially now the development is going toward 4. So some of those houses don't have basements. So people are trying to put a basement. They're trying to raise the elevation of the first floor. Again, egress window, just like what Kim says. So we're getting these, people are raising the top of that new foundation with regard to the existing grade
Mm-hmm.
to get those benefits
Yeah.
of having a full basement with a cheaper egress
Sure.
design.
I think we could propose some language, bring it to you, see if it's more clear, and, we can consider it. That's all we have.
all right, anything else on that topic? All right, last item of business is item B, set next meeting date for July 25th, 2022.
Yep. Yes, we
We
do.
have one application for,
New home.
we have a new home and we have an application, the pool. It's time.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna be looking at an amendment to, one that was granted a green space exception for a swimming pool. They found out that the,
They're
Is this on Mission Road, Steins?
2 houses from you.
yeah, the,
They want to move the pool closer to the court,
because of
the
the,
basketball court, because there is the main sewer line, but the sewer lines from the house, they have 2 sewer lines
It's right there by
going
yard too, yeah.
to the main, and the pool was going to be on top of that. To reroute the sewer lines from the house is going to cost, according to the owner, $30,000.
Yep, I
So
believe
they're
it.
opting to move the pool further away from the house.
So
Okay.
you'll be considering an amendment to what was previously approved on that.
Okay. Last item of business is a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting